Most men don't fail in relationships because they're weak. They fail because they're blind. Blind to patterns hiding in plain sight. Blind to signals they were never taught to read. Blind to the structure beneath behavior that looks emotional, but isn't random at all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. What confuses you isn't women. It's the illusion you were handed about how the mind works. You were taught to listen to words, to trust surface emotions, to believe consistency means honesty. But dark psychology teaches something colder and far more accurate. People don't act from feelings. They act from psychological orientation. And once you see it, behavior stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling predictable. Tonight, I'm giving you the lens most men never get. Not to hate, not to manipulate, but to see clearly. Because clarity is dangerous. And once this door opens, you don't get to close it again. In the next part, I'll show you why personality is not chaos. It's a system. And why misunderstanding this system keeps men trapped in confusion. Here's the illusion that ruins most men. They believe personality is random. Mood today, different mood tomorrow. Contradictions everywhere. But randomness is comforting, because structure is threatening. Dark psychology says this instead. Personality is an operating system. Biology is the hardware. Experiences install the software. And once installed, it runs quietly, consistently, relentlessly. This is why the same patterns repeat across different relationships. Different faces, same outcomes. You think you're reacting to her. You're actually reacting to a system you don't recognize yet. Here's what confuses you. You meet one version of her. Warm, soft, engaged. Then weeks later, another version appears. Cold, distant, unrecognizable. You assume deception. You assume manipulation. Sometimes you assume it's your fault. But most of the time, it's role switching, not lying. Same core, different interface. The mistake men make is choosing one version and calling it real. That's how they get blindsided. Because the core doesn't reveal itself in comfort. It reveals itself under pressure. And in the next part, I'll show you exactly where to look when the mask starts to crack. If you want to see who someone really is, don't watch them when they're happy. Watch them when they're tired, when they're ignored, when they don't get what they expected. That's when the core leaks through. Personas take energy. Politeness takes energy. Charm takes energy. And when energy drops, the operating system takes over. This is where dark psychology becomes useful instead of abstract. Because under pressure, people stop performing. They default. Default reactions reveal orientation. Some people collapse when attention disappears. Some explode when status is threatened. Some panic when emotional distance appears. Some shut down when control slips from their hands. These reactions aren't flaws. They're signals. And once you know what to watch for, you stop asking, why did she react like that? And start asking the right question. What does she organize her world around? Because no one is neutral. Everyone has a dominant psychological gravity. And in the next part, I'll break down the first core orientation. The one that creates obsession, confusion, and emotional whiplash for most men. Pay attention. This one traps more men than any other. Let's start with the most visible and the most misunderstood. The attention-focused mind. This type doesn't crave love first. It craves being seen. Attention isn't ego to them, it's oxygen. When attention flows, they feel alive. When it fades, anxiety begins. Here's where men get trapped. Attention-focused women don't just enjoy admiration, they regulate their self-worth through it. Compliments stabilize them. Silence destabilizes them. Distance feels like rejection, even when it isn't. So what happens? Early on, you feel chosen, desired, special. But over time, the demand quietly increases. More reassurance, more responsiveness, more emotional energy. And if that supply drops, mood shifts, coldness, subtle punishment. Not because you did something wrong, but because the system is starving. Here's the dangerous part. When attention-focused types feel invisible, they don't always ask for attention. They create situations that force it. Drama, withdrawal, provocation. Men misread this as immaturity. It's not. It's orientation. And in the next part, I'll show you a quieter orientation. One that doesn't chase attention, but judges everything through rank and value. That one is even harder to spot. Attention seeks eyes, but status seeks position. A status-focused mind doesn't ask, "Do you see me?" It asks, "Where do I stand?" Hierarchy is their map. Ranking is their language. Value is measured comparatively. They notice titles, reputation, who leads, who follows, and yes, relationships are part of that equation. Who they date reflects who they are. This is where men get confused. Status-focused women can seem warm until something threatens their position. A public correction, a perceived disrespect, a moment that lowers their rank in front of others. Then suddenly, you're not a partner. You're a liability. They don't argue emotionally. They defend position. Sarcasm, dismissal, quiet contempt. Not because they hate you, but because their system detected a threat. Here's the hidden danger. Status-focused personalities often suppress insecurity. Deep down, they fear being exposed as not enough. So when status is threatened, the shadow comes out swinging. Defensiveness, comparison, subtle power games. Most men don't see this coming because everything felt fine until it wasn't. In the next part, we move to the most emotionally seductive orientation of all. The one that feels like home and can quietly become a cage. This is the orientation that pulls men in the deepest. Connection-focused minds. These women don't want to be admired. They want to be understood. Depth over breadth, meaning over excitement, emotional resonance over status. With them, conversations stretch late into the night. Eye contact lingers. Silence feels intimate instead of awkward. Men confuse this with safety, but here's the shadow most don't see. Connection-focused personalities often carry a core fear of abandonment, not consciously, not dramatically, quietly. So when closeness is high, everything feels perfect. But when distance appears, even healthy distance, alarm bells go off inside the system. Texts feel delayed. Tone feels colder. Space feels like rejection. What happens next is subtle. They don't always cling. Sometimes they withdraw first. Preemptive distance to avoid future pain. Men read this as moodiness or loss of interest, but it's protection. Here's the paradox. The very depth that feels intoxicating early on can turn into emotional gravity later. You become the regulator of their emotional safety. And if you fail, guilt replaces desire. In the next part, I'll show you the orientation that seems easy and stable, but carries a hidden explosive charge most men never anticipate. At first glance, this one feels like relief. The security-focused mind. Stable, predictable, low drama. They value routine, consistency, known outcomes over exciting possibilities. With them, things feel calm. No emotional roller coasters, no constant tests. Men relax here, but dark psychology warns you, security has a shadow too. Security-focused personalities suppress restlessness. They bury desires for novelty, risk, and freedom, because those desires threaten stability. So what happens? For a long time, nothing. Until one day, something cracks. A sudden urge for change. An unexpected rebellion. A choice that doesn't match the person you thought you knew. Men say, "She changed." No, the suppressed side surfaced. Here's the danger. Security-focused women may stay in relationships long after desire fades. Not because they're happy, but because uncertainty feels worse than emptiness, and resentment grows quietly. When it finally emerges, it feels irrational and disproportionate. In the next part, we move to the opposite extreme. The orientation addicted to intensity, novelty, and sensation. This one feels alive, until it drains you dry. This orientation doesn't fear chaos. It feeds on it. The experience-focused mind. These women chase sensation, novelty, emotional highs. Routine suffocates them. Predictability feels like decay. With them, life feels vivid, fast, electric. Every moment feels charged with possibility. Men confuse intensity with connection. But intensity isn't stability. It's stimulation. Here's the shadow. Experience-focused personalities suppress their need for grounding. Depth feels heavy. Stillness feels empty. Commitment feels like confinement. So when the excitement fades, and it always does, restlessness returns. They don't leave because you failed. They leave because the system demands new input. Then comes the crash. After enough novelty, a strange emptiness appears, and suddenly the same person who avoided depth desperately seeks it. From anyone who can fill the void. Men get whiplash here. One moment you're too boring. The next you're their emotional anchor. In the next part, we enter the most dangerous orientation of all. The one that doesn't seek love, excitement, or safety. It seeks control. This orientation doesn't crave attention. It doesn't chase excitement. It doesn't fear abandonment. It fears powerlessness. The control-focused mind. Order calms them. Influence reassures them. Directing outcomes makes them feel safe. Early on, this looks attractive, decisive, organized, strong. Men mistake control for confidence, but control is a coping strategy. The shadow here is vulnerability. They suppress the desire to be led, to be held, to surrender. So they manage everything instead. Decisions, schedules, emotions, yours included. At first it feels supportive, helpful, protective. Then autonomy starts shrinking. Your preferences become inefficient. Your boundaries become problems. Disagreement becomes resistance. Here's the warning sign most men miss. How does she respond when you don't comply? Calm discussion or pressure? Respect or correction? Control patterns don't soften with time. They intensify. And when control fails, breakdowns follow. In the final part, I'll show you how all of this connects. Shadow, fear, resentment, adaptation, and how to use this framework without becoming bitter, cold, or naive. This is where clarity becomes power. Now the final illusion needs to die. Understanding the female mind isn't about domination. It's not about manipulation. And it's definitely not about hatred. It's about pattern recognition. Every orientation you've learned, attention, status, connection, security, experience, control, is driven by fear hiding beneath strategy. Fear of invisibility, fear of inadequacy, fear of abandonment, fear of chaos, fear of emptiness, fear of powerlessness. Behavior is just the surface expression of fear management. Once you see that, confusion disappears. You stop asking, "Why is she doing this to me?" and start asking, "What fear is this protecting her from?" This is dark psychology used correctly, not to exploit, but to observe without illusion. And here's the twist most men don't expect. This framework isn't just for women. It applies to you. Your attractions, your triggers, your blind spots. The man who knows his own orientation is no longer easily manipulated. He doesn't confuse intensity with love. He doesn't mistake attention for loyalty. He doesn't sacrifice himself to manage someone else's fear. He chooses clearly. That's maturity. The female mind isn't chaos. It's structured, predictable, human. And now you see it. The illusion is gone. What you do with that clarity is what defines the man you become.